This is every single fight to make next after UFC Fight Night Abu Dhabi, Whittaker versus Derrida. I've got all of the key fighters from that card on the screen right now. Some winners, some losers, and you may notice there is an empty box next to all of them, and that's where their next opponent's going to go, who I have hidden around the perimeter of the screen. I'll slowly reveal those opponents one by one as the video goes on and place them where they belong on the screen. Let's start straight away with the main event. Reinier Derrida versus Robert Whittaker. Reinier Derrida wins a very competitive 48-47 decision. This was a very close fight. I saw a lot of people saying robbery. I don't know what round of 4 and 5 they gave Robert Whittaker, but some people were saying robbery after the fight. Obviously, they're wrong. Reinier Derrida very clearly won rounds 2, 4, and 5. However, this isn't the type of fight where I'm now going to say that Whittaker needs to retire because he can't hang with the top dogs anymore. I think Reinier Derrida is one of the best middleweights in the division. Even though his style is very goofy, I don't think this is a fight where Whittaker should now be thinking, I'm done, I'll never make it anywhere near the top again, I'm finished. If he loses to the opponent I'm going to give him, then he should be considered absolutely done and probably retire from the sport. But Reinier Derrida's next opponent should be Israel Adesanya. Fact. Absolutely. We need to have this happen. Israel Adesanya has been complaining on YouTube. I saw an interview of him on Twitter recently, and then I watched a video, and he was complaining about Sean Strickland not accepting a rematch with him, and then we find out that Sean Strickland's suspended. I still don't know what he's suspended from, but obviously there is some complications there with then getting him to fight at some point. I'm sure they can have him fight somewhere else, but I feel like Sean Strickland, Israel Adesanya said that Sean Strickland doesn't want the rematch with him because Strickland's already beaten Adesanya and he doesn't want to undo that by potentially losing. So Israel Adesanya is of course looking for those redemption fights to clear up some losses on his resume, but I think he should be looking to fight Reinier Derrida next. That's a big matchup. Reinier Derrida, after beating Robert Whittaker and the win over Bo Nickel that he has made himself quite a bit of a name in the middleweight division. And a lot of other contenders in the middleweight division aren't names. They aren't big names that you can put against Israel Adesanya and generate a ton of interest from. But Reinier Derrida is one of those fighters where Adesanya could see this in a way as him getting back at Dricus du Plessis. Because, you know what I mean? They're so similar to each other. Reinier Derrida and Dricus du Plessis. Even the way their names are formulated are very similar. RDR, DDP, Dricus du Plessis, Reinier Derrida. It's too perfect, the similarities that the two of them have. So I think Adesanya could maybe in some way convince himself that this is Dricus du Plessis' cousin of some kind, and this is the vengeance, and this is when I'll prove that I have wins over the du Plessis clan. And I bet you anything he'll take some narrative there. So I think that's what's going to encourage Adesanya to maybe take this fight. Put it on a big pay-per-view at the end of the year, November, December, MSG, Las Vegas, T-Mobile Arena. Whatever they want to do, get this fight done. Adesanya, Reinier Derrida. There's nothing else for Adesanya in the division. Look at the division right now and pick out a name, a surging contender that you can right now put against Adesanya. You've got Cannonier versus MVP. You've got Dolidze versus Hernandez. I'm not giving Adesanya the winner of Dolidze Hernandez, although I'd love to. I'd love to give him Anthony Hernandez if he were to beat Roman Dolidze, which I don't think he's going to do. But Reinier Derrida is the name that stands out, and that's a big matchup for Adesanya, and it's also a matchup that I think Adesanya will look at and think that he can win. Based on the sloppiness of Reinier Derrida's style, I think Adesanya will look at that and think, you know what, I could really expose this guy on the feet if I stuff some of the takedowns. I don't think he can stuff the takedowns. I don't think he's got the level of takedown defense that Robert Whittaker has. But I think this is a matchup that's winnable for both, and I think Adesanya will like the look of this matchup. And that's important right now. He needs to have matchups that he likes the look of because Adesanya has his legacy. It's taken some damage with his losses. The Nassourdine Imavov loss definitely did a lot more damage though. If before the Nassourdine Imavov loss, he's only lost in world championship title fights. Now he's lost to a contender in Imavov. His next move is going to, if he loses this next one, we could be looking at an Anderson Silva level slide or some kind of modern version of it, if you will. So I think Adesanya is going to be very particular about the style that he wants to go up against. And I think Reinier Derrida is a style where maybe Adesanya could see a few. He could think he could maybe exploit Reinier Derrida in some moments. So I think they should make that matchup next at the end of the year. And for Robert Whittaker, I reckon he should be looking to take on the winner of Roman Dolidze versus Anthony Hernandez. That's the matchup to make. That's the matchup to make. I think Whittaker, I was going to match him up with Brendan Allen, but I just couldn't force myself. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I couldn't put Whittaker against Brendan fucking Allen. And I don't want to see that on a fight card ever as well, by the way, just to clear that up. Brendan Allen's very low ranked, and he just snapped losing by beating Marvin Vettori. He's now back on track. I think Whittaker should be in a position where he's taking on the up-and-comers, the guys that are on win streaks. And as sad as that is, at this point, we're not looking to rebuild Whittaker as a brand. I'm speaking like I'm the UFC again here. We're not looking to rebuild Whittaker as a brand. We're not like, oh, it sucks. We're losing Whittaker as our big star at the top of the sport. Let's rebuild him. We've tried that. We've had moments before in history where we've rebuilt Whittaker, where he's taken on Darren Till and Kelvin Gastelum and Jared Cannonier the first time, and he hasn't fought him twice, but Jared Cannonier, and he's rebuilt himself back up to fight Adesanya in the rematch, and then we rebuilt him again, and then he lost to Dricus du Plessis, and then we rebuild him again. At a certain point, you have to be a sacrificial lamb. And that's what the Reinier Derrida matchup was, even though it was very winnable for Whittaker. I took Reinier Derrida to win. And now I think he's going to have to take on the winner of Dolidze versus Hernandez. Robert Whittaker's on a very good paycheck. He's making a lot of money. He's on a very good contract. And you don't want to be paying Whittaker that type of contract for people that he's guaranteed to win against because he's on a different level than them. I think Whittaker would very easily beat Brendan Allen. I also think he would beat Roman Dolidze. By the way, I think if Dolidze beats Hernandez with his submission off of bottom game, meaning that Anthony Hernandez, in my opinion, is not going to want to take him down. So I think Dolidze could win that fight because of it. I think Whittaker's going to start... Wait. If Dolidze beats Hernandez, I think Whittaker does beat Dolidze. You know? So it's one of those matchups where, yes, the UFC's not doing him any favors, but it's secretly a bit of a favor at the same time. So I think Whittaker versus the winner of Dolidze Hernandez, especially if it's Roman Dolidze. The winner of Dolidze Hernandez is probably going to be ranked about number 7, number 6 in the division, number 8, probably right by where Whittaker's going to be come Tuesday. So match them up against each other. Make the fight, and let's get moving. I think these are the matchups for the middleweight division out of the two of them in the main event. And for Reinier Derrida, he called out du Plessis or Chimaev. I don't think that's next. I think Adesanya's next. He also mentioned Adesanya as an opponent. I think this is one that we need to have happen. This is a big fight. And for Adesanya, I know Reinier Derrida in the UFC, he's beaten some big names now, and Whittaker's a huge name. But he's also one FC champion, 2-weight world champion, and maybe there's some legacy for Adesanya to see claim to by getting a win over him. So I think that could this could be a matchup where they talk a bit of shit as well. I could see it in Reinier Derrida. I could see Reinier Derrida talking a bit of shit in the build-up of this one, So these are the matchups I want to make out of the main event. Moving on to the co-main event, Peter Yan beat Marcus McGhee in a, I want to say vintage Peter Yan performance, but I don't think it was. However, Marcus McGhee was a very dangerous opponent for Peter Yan. So I think that needs to be taken into consideration more here. I think Yan should have been a very slight favorite over Marcus McGhee, and he pulled it off and he won very convincingly, which is impressive. Yan versus Merab is next. It has to happen. Dude, Yan has to be reserved a title shot now. He's on a 3-fight win streak. He beat, in his last fight, Marcus McGhee. Before that, he beat Davison Figueiredo, and then before that, he fought Song Yudong. So that's a 3-fight win streak against top contenders. At the time that he beat them as well, I think Figueiredo was on a win streak in the Bantamweight division before Peter Yan beat him. He didn't get some Sandhagen version of Figueiredo that basically just went out there and wanted to lose by pulling bottom position over and over again. But Peter Yan versus Merab Dvalishvili's got to happen next. Yan has rebuilt himself. And also, it's not the case of where people are acting like Yan fought Merab and then his losing streak began. And now he's got 3 in a row. If that were the case, maybe you'd understand him getting one more. Merab was at the end of Yan's losing streak, if I'm not mistaken. O'Malley had already gone on and become champion after, beating Peter Yan. He'd already fought Aljamain Sterling. And then the Merab-Yan fight happened around then as well. So this was at the end of Yan's losing streak. So Merab's the last guy Yan lost to, if I'm not mistaken. And then he's gone on this win streak. I think that means a little bit more. Yan was a former champion, and we have nothing else for Merab. That's the main reason. I'm justifying it for Peter Yan, but we have nothing left for Merab. If he beats Corey Sandhagen, there is nothing, but I know the UFC's looking to do a Nurmagomedov title shot off of one win over Rob fucking Font. I can see that happening. Khabib, who says that they get bad treatment for title shots. We're going to talk about someone else who might be getting that, Evloev, at the end of this video, who actually pulled out of this card or was pulled out of this card. We're not sure. But yeah, Jan versus Merab. There's nothing left for Merab if he beats Sandhagen, as I expect, by 49-46 decision, where Sandhagen looks good and shows a lot of skill but just doesn't harm Merab in any way. Then I think it's going to be interesting. And I think Jan's got a chance of winning. And I don't know if they... I'd love to see Pantoja versus Merab, but I don't... Are they going to force it? If it happens, it happens, and I'd love to see it. But I don't want it to happen if Pantoja doesn't want to yet, and he still wants to do work at Flyweight, or Merab still got his eyes on a Jan rematch. So we need something in reserve. And the Jan rematch is something that's in reserve, because right now, no one else really earns a shot at Bantamweight for the title. You know, even Sandhagen's shot is weak as fuck. O'Malley's rematch justification was weak as fuck. Umar's initial title shot was weak as fuck. Everyone Merab has fought for his belt, bar beating O'Malley the first time, has been a weak as fuck contender for him to go up against. And that's a fact. O'Malley unjustified rematch. Umar on one win against any top 15 opponent. And now Sandhagen, the guy who lost to Umar that just beat a fucking Figueiredo that chose to fucking lose. So, maybe I'm learning things about Merab's title reign right now. But either way, he did beat Jan, rematch it. And I think Jan should be like a weigh-in short notice opponent for the October card when Merab is going to fight. I've been dying all day of this illness. And I was keeping up a poker face here. But I can't anymore. But yeah, Merab's gonna fight against, fucking hell, man. You know what people don't get? This is such an easy thing to do for a living, yeah? But when you have, like, the sniffles or some fucking bullshit thing like that, or, like, an earache or a, like, mild headache, you know how fucking annoying it is? Trying to fucking do... This is every fight to make next after Whittaker versus Derrida, while you got fucking... snot trickling down your nostril. Is fucking distracting as fuck. Now my mustache is salty, you know what I mean? It's just fucking, these are the problems. Either way, Peter Yan versus Merab, for fuck's sake. Do it. Anyway, what was the other thing? Oh yeah, have Yan as a backup opponent for the October pay-per-view where Merab's going to be fighting Sandhagen. And build it. You know, get Yan involved, put him back, have him do an interview on fight week, make him weigh in as a backup opponent, and then after the fight, Yan's in the crowd at the event. Like, you got to build it up that way to make sure there's something else for Merab. But I think that's what's next for Merab. We move on. Fucking hell. Magomedov. Let me clear my fucking nostrils real quick so I can speak for the rest of this shit. I just saw how that looked on camera. It looked like I sniffed a line off my desk, but I promise I didn't. Magomedov. Oh, I'm going to sneeze again. Magomedov. He's more fucked up than this picture would suggest right now, so he's going to need some time off after his fight with Marc-Andre Barriault. So I'm expecting we're going to see him late in the year. And also, he can't fight in the US because look at him. So they're not going to let him in the USA to fight. He can't really fight anywhere. They probably let him right into Europe if he can't, honestly. So just fucking put him in, just give him a fucking house in Europe. They'll probably do that for him. But I think Magomedov should be looking to take on Bruno Ferreira and get fucked up by him. That's what I think is going to happen next. I was looking at other matchups. Joe Pyfer's got a fight. I don't think they'll do Bo Nickel, Magomedov when Bo Nickel's coming off a loss. But I'm interested in a Bo Nickel fight with Magomedov if Bo Nickel wins his fight and rebounds. And then maybe we could do a Bo Nickel, Magomedov, because I think that would be an interesting matchup. But I think Bruno Ferreira, a dangerous tank bruiser of a fighter, that's going to go out there, can mix it up, has got power to finish. Something Magomedov has not fought yet in the UFC, despite 4 fights in the UFC. So make Magomedov versus Bruno Ferreira. And let's get this fucking Magomedov guy knocked the fuck out by my boy Bruno Ferreira, dude. The Hulk. Bruno Ferreira. He's a problem. He's got a ground game. He's got power. But he's also an approachable matchup for Magomedov. No more layups, buddy. No more layups aside from an MVP fight that you probably thought you were going to cruise right through. Let's make Magomedov versus Bruno Ferreira, and if he wins that one, we can start looking towards the rankings again. I don't want Magomedov getting Mr. fucking 1-2 Marvin Vettori and then beating him on the back foot by low kicking while Marvin does fuck all to change his game plan at all for 15 minutes, other than throw 1-2s that are going to miss while getting low kicked by Magomedov dancing around the fucking outside of the octagon. So let's do Magomedov versus Bruno Ferreira. Winner gets a ranked opponent. Winner gets Marvin Vettori. We move on. Aso Almabayev got a win in the flyweight division over Jose Ochoa. I didn't expect it to happen. I thought he should have put on a bit better of a better performance than that on short notice, but I picked Ochoa to win, so I can't complain about it, or I'm a hypocrite. So I think that Aso Almabayev should fight... Oh, what Asian is this? I can't even remember what... I think this is Kyoji Horiguchi. This is Kyoji Horiguchi. Okay, so Kyoji Horiguchi... There's a... Is this... I think this is Horiguchi. This is Horiguchi. Yeah, this is Kyoji Horiguchi. So Tagiro Lembekov was supposed to fight Kyoji Horiguchi, but Horiguchi ended up pulling out. So Tagiro Lembekov ended up fighting someone else. I think Azat Maxim. Controversial fight. Boring fight. Do Aso Almabayev versus Kyoji Horiguchi. Give Horiguchi a top name in the flyweight division. Not a top 5 contender. Not really a top 7 contender, but someone in that top 10 range. Aso Almabayev. Kyoji Horiguchi. That's the matchup to happen. Run that shit. We move on. Bogdan Guskov got a big win over Nikita Krylov. He'll now be in the top 10. Someone I matched up with someone else very recently is who I'm going to match him up with here. Jamal Hill. I matched Jamal Hill up with Alonzo Menifield before. But looking at the current rankings of the UFC light heavyweight division, Hill is still top 7. I think he's number 6 or 7 in the rankings. So you shouldn't be giving that to Alonzo Menifield. Although I saw it as like, okay, this is a setback for Hill and let him look down the rankings and fight Menifield. You've got to consider that, like, dude, Bogdan is far more deserving than Alonzo Menifield. He just knocked out Krylov. Before that, he knocked out someone else. And he's been on a bit of a streak. I think he took a short notice Billy Alicana fight. And, you know, he's in the rankings. He's been on a streak. He just beat Nikita Krylov, who was in the top 10. And now he's going to be ranked in the top 10. And I think this is an approachable matchup for Jamal Hill again. A fight where Jamal Hill will probably look at this and go, that Bogdan Guskov guy, he's not going to try wrestle me. He's not going to try and low kick me at range and dart around the outside of the octagon or anything like that. He's not tall and rangy. He's a bruiser, and he's going to get straight in Jamal Hill's face and try and scrap with him. I think that's what Jamal Hill will do well against compared to other styles of opponents. So I think that this is the matchup to happen. Bogdan Guskov, Jamal Hill. I don't know what they could do with this in terms of positioning. Maybe they could Apex Fight Night main event it. Maybe they could headline the prelims of the pay-per-view with it, depending on the strength of the pay-per-view. Maybe they could co-main event a crowded Fight Night card with this, Bogdan Guskov, Jamal Hill. But that's the fight that I want to see happen. We move on. Bryce Mitchell. Dude, look at these beady-eyed, blue-eyed fellas down here at the bottom of the screen, huh? Staring you out, dude. Right into your soul there, Bryce Mitchell, with an amazing win over Saeed Nurmagomedov. Dude, he Nurmagomedov. Wet blanketed him, dare I say. Bryce Mitchell versus Patricky Mix. Patchy Mix. I don't know why I called him Patricky, but yeah, Patchy Mix versus Bryce Mitchell. I think this is a sick fight. I know I've matched up Patchy Mix with someone else before, but I think in this position, you've got to be like, okay, Bryce Mitchell's next opponent's got to be a big name. The matchup here was good because it was a Nurmagomedov. So it looks cool for Bryce Mitchell to fight a Nurmagomedov. But Mitchell's a big name. I don't want to see Bryce Mitchell versus Chris Gutierrez next. And although I don't think you can maybe justify right now giving Bryce Mitchell a ranked opponent, because a lot of them that deserve matchups against each other, and Amian Zahabi and Montel Jackson, these guys have put in work in the Bantamweight division to get their opportunity in the rankings and fight ranked opponents. So I think right now the best thing to do is to do Bryce Mitchell versus Patchy Mix. Winner gets ranked number 15 at Bantamweight, and then they can start looking towards the top 10 and look to rebuild themselves. And for Patchy Mix, this is a big name for him. You know, this is a big name fight for him to return to. We don't want to waste all that promo that was put into Patchy Mix for his debut with Mario Batista and just let it go down the drain. You may be saying, oh, that promo's already gone down the drain. Did you not see his performance against Mario Batista? I did, but Patchy Mix is promotable. He was talking his shit. There were edits of him with like epic, scary, yabba dabba, alabula kulova, yabba dabba da. All of these types of music going on. Ebale grande, alam salati, rasatana, yabba dabba da. All of these types of fucking music was going on while they were playing fucking edits of Patchy Mix, saying his resume into the microphone and how he's better than all the UFC fighters. It happened. Don't act like that shit didn't happen, okay? I was seeing those edits. I think Bryce Mitchell versus Patchy Mix is the fight. Big fight, big position on a card. Not a main card of a pay-per-view, not the main event of a fight night, but Apex Fight Night, mate. No. Neither are ranked, so no. But yeah, prelims of a pay-per-view. Bryce Mitchell versus Patchy Mix, I think is a good fight. And for Patchy Mix, not an expert striker in Bryce Mitchell. You know what I mean? And also a guy who's going to try and take him down. So I think this is going to be an interesting matchup where they both have moments of success because the styles will blend well. You know, they're going to both go into each other's world in that way. So I think Bryce Mitchell versus Patchy Mix is the move. And I think this would be a sick fight if they do it well. And the winner of it can get a chance at a top 10 opponent or a guy just outside the top 10 at Bantamweight. Do this at the end of the year. November, December, whenever they want to do it. Run Bryce Mitchell versus Patchy Mix. Dribbling out my fucking nose. God. Davy Grant won his fight. An amazing fraud check of all fraud checks, dude. This is the fucking 50th time Davy Grant has done this to a young prospect. He did fraud check Adrian Yanez, and we fraud checked Daniel Marcos, and we should have won against Adrian Yanez. Davy Grant has been doing this for a long time. He keeps beating all of these prospects, so let me tell you this. Do you know what matchup I'm about to cook up? This is how you inspire the memes of the MMA Twitter community. The memes of the Instagram comment section of MMA pages. This is how you inspire the MMA hardcore fan base. To where they see this matchup. It could be an Apex Fight Night card. But they're going to talk about this fucking matchup. And they're going to make memes about the title of this matchup. We've heard Battle of the Cookout. We had the battle of this, the battle of the frauds, the battle of this, the fraud on fraud. How about a fucking battle of the fraud checkers to decide who the true fraud checker is in the bantamweight division? It's Davy Grant versus Howdy Barcelos, ladies and gentlemen. It's Davy Grant versus Howdy Barcelos. Yeah, this is the matchup that we need to see at bantamweight, dude. Davy Grant, Howdy Barcelos, cook it up. Winner gets a ranked opponent. In fact, the winner does get ranked at number 15. I've just fucking decided this. The winner gets ranked at number 15, and the winner of that gets their top 10 shot against a Rob Font, against a someone coming off the loss. Whatever you want to say, this is the matchup we need to see, okay? Davy Grant, Howdy Barcelos. Stop giving him frauds, dude. Stop giving him prospects because they're going to chew him up and spit him right back out. Put these two on an Apex card, and the hardcore fans all know this is a battle of the fraud checkers. We're going to find out once and for all who the best one is, and it's Davy Grant versus Howdy Barcelos going down. There comes a time where each unk has checked so many frauds that they must end up fighting each other to decide who the one true fraud checker is. And I think it's Davy Grant versus Howdy Barcelos. Make it happen soon, towards the end of the year. Movsar Evloev was pulled off of this card. A little bit of a weird one at the end. I know he wasn't fighting this weekend, but he was supposed to be against Aaron Pico. And now they've made Aaron Pico versus Lerone Murphy the co-main event of UFC 319. Dricker said it was Pimlet versus Gaethje. You know, a little bit of a downgrade of a co-main event. I'm going to be honest with you. So Movsar Evloev versus Alexander Volkanovski. Now I know people are going to get onto me. What do you mean? You said Arman doesn't deserve a shot. The alternative is Yair Rodriguez. Do you not understand what I'm saying to you right now? We're complaining at lightweight that the alternative might be Justin Gaethje or someone else, or Arman, or someone else in a division. The alternative at featherweight is that Yair gets another title shot after doing literally fucking nothing. This would be if there was a more deserving guy other than Arman. But Arman's actually way better than Yair and actually has solid wins in the featherweight division. And he hasn't had his title shot yet. So, it's a different circumstance at featherweight. Give Evloev the title shot against Volkanovski. Evloev is the top contender of the division. Evloev beat Diego Lopez. Evloev beat top contenders. He beat Arnold Allen. I know they're close wins, and they're always close wins, and he beat Aljamain Sterling, and it's a close fight, and these are legit, solid, great wins to have on your resume, and those are the people that Volkanovski should be fighting at this very delicate, legacy-defining moment of his career. Movsar Evloev, Volkanovski, Yair Rodriguez can eat fucking shit and watch it all happen while doing fuck all. If he wants to fight Arnold Allen, let's make that matchup as well. And fucking run Arman versus Pimlet in October. The winner fights Ilya Topuria. It's as simple as that. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Toodle pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye.